ran to the hospital and the cemetery, and that's why I forgot about it, right? He would have to apologize. So it's a thing of power, and it's a loss of masculinity, and that's why he doesn't want to apologize. So, but the point of Deborah Tannen's book, again, it's supposed to be about male and female relationships, but it's really advice. How do you deal with these supposed differences in male and female ways of being? Well, share that if he doesn't share certain conversations with you, talk to your friends about it instead, and other things like that. But this book came out and became a big bestseller, so there were all sorts of copycat books that combined this kind of linguistics and advice to women, and they were trying to teach them how to talk sexy, how to get your man by talking sexy. Why do you have to teach women how to talk sexy? Because obviously, if you knew how to talk like that, you'd be a slut, right? So we have to assume you don't know how to talk like that. However, to get your man in the right situation, not in the classroom or in the bar, you don't talk like that, or at Thanksgiving dinner, you don't talk like that. But when it's the right situation, I have to teach you to say things like stick your adjective noun in my adjective noun. So there were all these books called, in the 90s, Talk Dirty to Me, Talk Sexy to the One You Love, Sexational Secrets, Mars and Venus in the Bedroom, How to Make Love All Night. Here's the best one. The Good Girl's Guide to Bad Girl Sex. Okay? So you're really a good girl, but now just for this, for when you're in the bedroom in the privacy, we're going to teach you how to do this. And what does this say? One, that of course women have to be taught to speak properly, even for this, and that language is a commodity, and we have a very important word that's used in lots of other articles, not just for sex, of course, linguistic capital. What is linguistic capital? Capital is money, right, that you can buy things with. Linguistic capital is if you speak correctly, for example. Let's say you're going for a job interview, and you say, well, I don't know nothing. They're not going to hire you, right? Because, and this is what they say to minorities, you should speak in the standard language because you're not going to be hired. So to speak the standard language, to speak not lower class double negatives or things like that, is linguistic capital, right? And so, and often girls in the working class will try much harder to speak correctly than the guys, because for a guy to say, I don't know nothing, it doesn't matter if he's going to be a truck driver, it shows he's macho, where the girl who wants to be a secretary who's going to pick up the phone has to have more correct speech. So that's called linguistic capital in general. But in this case, they are applying in these books, linguistic capital is for a woman to learn this particular sexy way of talking, both vocabulary and ways to negotiate sex, actually. And that will allow her to get her man or keep her man. So here is my favorite quote. In one of the books they say, a Manhattan trophy wife told the author of one of these books, that she got her husband away from his first wife by talking dirty and swallowing. What the first wife didn't do, right? So we're not going to talk about the swallowing, but we're going to talk about talking dirty. So how did she, so what is this fine art of erotic talk? They say, well, you should make up scenarios, games, wordless dialogues, practice methods of voice training, exactly like being in a language class. They actually give you exercises. So here is a whole bunch of exercises, is on page 87. So you should have exercise, practice your dirty words. Now in the lowest of whispers, whispered the word penis. I mean, that doesn't sound very dirty anyway. Whisper it again, and that sounds like you're in the doctor's office. Whisper it again and again and again. Keep your eyes closed and keep thinking about your lover's penis. Whisper the word a little louder, louder still. Once you have reached the level of a stage whisper, you can stop. Repeat this process for all the words and phrases on your penis list. Then it has these what we used to call pattern drills in teaching language. Your noun makes me so adjective. I want to verb your noun. Verb my noun. Stick your adjective noun in my adjective noun. Verb me like an adjective animal. Okay, so it goes on like that. One of the books, by the way, is called Gray's Mars and Venus in the Bedroom. So that title, each of these titles really tells you something, right? The Good Girl's Guide to Bad Girl Sex. What it's telling you, you better be a good girl, but just for that occasion, you gotta learn bad girl. The guide to Mars and Venus in the Bedroom, what is that saying? It's saying, in selling of self-help book terms, the same thing that this article is saying, that there is no common language, but it's your job to learn his language to turn him on. But you have to be very careful. When you turn him on, you have to make sure that you only turn him on so he does what he wants. Because if there's one thing that stops a man from getting excited about talking sexy, is the fear that the sexy language will translate into sexual demands. In other words, talk sexy, but I don't know how you say verb me like an adjective animal without that sounding like a demand, but you have to say that, but in a way that if he can't get it up, he doesn't feel threatened. So it's really a balancing act. And so most of these are just sentences, but there is a mini discourse too. And the last part on page 88 really sounds exactly like Deborah Tannen, although she never talks about sex. But she talks about these situations like the wife comes home and she just had a new haircut and the husband says, "Oh, it looks like a lawnmower went over your head." And she's absolutely upset. And what does Deborah Tannen say at the end? She says, "Well, you have to understand that men like teasing, and he's just trying to be nice, and so you should go and talk to your girlfriends about your hairstyle because he likes teasing." Okay? So these last things are the same. How to deal with these situations? He says, if he says, "I'm feeling really turned on to you, let's have sex." She might say, "I'm not in the mood for sex, but we could have a quickie." Or he says, "Let's have sex tonight." And she says,
I have a headache.
"I have a headache," but she can't stop there, right? Because then she wouldn't be getting her, I really got a bad headache. Maybe we could have sex tomorrow. I could give you a hand job right now. Okay, so negotiation, where we just saw in this article, there was no negotiation when the guy put her hand on him in the movie, but here, she's offering this negotiation.
There still isn't any real negotiation.
No, there isn't, but it is a negotiation in that she's not allowed to say no. So she can have ways of saying yes, basically, but she can say, okay. And the last one, so several of the writers imply that dirty talk then is a commodity, he says, but a better term would be linguistic capital. So talking dirty is something where you are learning a commodity, so you're going to have more skills with that. And the final commodity, before we still are going to have a little bit of time for the erotica, is Carol, personal ads. And this is called self-commodification, because what are you doing here? What is a personal ad? First of all, it has to be very short, right? But what do you do in the personal ad? You describe yourself. So it's like the game we played when I said, say 3 things that you are. That's kind of what you do in those short ads. But what you want to do, you want someone to respond, so you're selling yourself. So what are the things that you're going to say about yourself? What is the identity, the very short autobiography you're going to create to sell yourself, to commodify yourself sexually, because your aim is to get a sexual partner. So you're not selling yourself. You're not saying a typist who can type 80 words a minute and is trilingual. This is not what you're saying, right? So it's not an ad for that. It's an ad to get a sexual partner. So how do you create your identity, perhaps a very artificial one, and what are the things you foreground in these 3 lines that you have in these ads? How do you package yourself in this act of self-commodification? And how this can be read as a kind of autobiography, and also how elements of the writers not only sexual orientation, obviously, because you have to say if you're looking for heterosexual, or if you're a top or a bottom, or various things. This particular one, by the way, this article is about heterosexual ads, but in the other units, on the masculinity and the queer unit, there are other cute articles like this about non-heterosexual ads. So that's also, for someone looking for a paper, that's also a very good topic, and you could compare different online sources, or in India, for example, how they put on marriage ads, for example, because it doesn't have to be just for sex. And when they say a homely woman, it doesn't mean she's ugly, it means she knows how to cook, and she's going to make a good wife, for example. So what do people try to sell about themselves in these ads if they're advertising a marriage ad, or in these cases, sex ads? And how does their class, race, and other things enter? Always indirectly. Okay, so let's look at some of those. Some of them have the modesty trope, but others have the exactly opposite, that they're bragging. Here's one with the modesty trope. Nerd seeks nerdette. Okay, so very, very short, but it's not saying I'm tall, dark, and handsome, and well-hung, and things like that, right? Whereas another one has exactly the opposite, the braggadocio, a very masculine thing, bragging. Fit, fine, and physical. So also it rhymes. Fit, fine, and physical. Shapely, stunning, sensuous, another one. Some of them give group, what group they belong to. 30-something, so you know what group you belong to, and you're looking for someone in that group. Some heterosexuals have very popular to have pairings based on myths, like Rhett is looking for Scarlett, Anthony is looking for Cleopatra, Tracy is looking for Hepburn, and things like that. So that also shows you're interested in literature or film. Here is a great one. BIWM, so bi, white male, 36, friendly in capital letters, handsome and fun, looking to meet some friendly, decent, single, straight but curious, only white male professionals, 26 to 44, who enjoy baseball, sports, pizza, music, conversation, and fun, bear with me, also must live alone and be very serious about friendship, no gays. Except it's a gay ad.
Okay.
But it's anti-gay, so I am, what am I? I am straight. There is also, we're going to see more of these in the later units, straight acting. Sometimes the thing is straight acting, and I only want someone else who is also straight acting, and no queers, or no gays, or no queens, or no various other insulting terms. So all of these are very interesting. And here is really showing it like commodification. One thinks he's very funny, saying, limited time only, like an ad for in a store, right? Limited time only, last one in stock, 60, I don't know what 63 is, not 63 years old, so I don't know. Blonde, green eyes, literate, workshop regularly, minor personality flaws, non-smoker. This offer won't last, so act now. Not valid in Georgia or Missouri. Okay, so that's trying to be humorous and actually caught on to the fact that this is commodification. So he is saying that he is he's advertising himself in that way. Okay, so we still have a little bit of time, I'm very happy about this, to go into our actual erotica and porn.
Self-modification sounds a lot like Tinder bios.
Yeah, it is. Tinder is just
Well, Tinder is just a newer version. Yeah, all the ones I have here, both the straight and the gay ones, are actually printed ones in various sources. That's why I suggested that if somebody was looking for a topic, this is a good topic, because you could look at the 4 articles we have in here through various units that are printed, and you could analyze them, straight or gay, social class, lots of other issues, and then you could compare them to various sites online. And if you're really, really alive about it, you could go and get some ethnic newspapers or ethnic sites ethnic is a terrible word in a
Yeah,
sense.
like-
Yeah, but it's a terrible shorthand, that is not the straight white thing, and see what is the, what are the different words they might use. Okay,